Religion. It has dominated human history since before recorded time. Gods come and go, yet we continue to make elaborate plans to meet our Maker, like here. But I wonder, do you really know what the oldest Christian site in Britain actually is? Let's find out. Canterbury Cathedral, a solid choice, built on the instruction of Pope Gregory in 597 AD. But no, I'm thinking a lot earlier than this. Ah, St Albans, you say? A popular choice. Legend has it it's been here since about 250 AD, but there's no evidence until Bishop Germanus of Auxerre visits in 429. No. I want to propose this place, Old St Pancras Church. My name is Stephen Dorton, and this is Talehouse. There's a whole host of stuff here at St Pancras that I think is central to British culture, and I want to show you some of those connections. This cemetery expanded over the centuries, so that it pretty soon got full of some famous dead people. One of them, Johann Christian Bach, was the foremost composer in England in the middle of the 18th century. An 8-year-old Mozart even came to London to visit him and forever claimed to be an admirer. He's buried here. Come on. Now, sadly for Christian Bach, he died on Skid Row, a bankrupt, because he fell out of popularity towards the end of the century. And his housekeeper even ran away with the very last of his money just before he died. So whilst he is buried here, it is sadly in a mass pauper's grave and remains unmarked. No, that's his father, Johann Sebastian. Come on. This is the grave of Mary Wollstonecraft, possibly first feminist and author of A Vindication of the Rights of Women. But it is also the site of a national scandal. You see, poet Percy Shelley met her daughter, 16-year-old, also called Mary, over this site in a number of romantic liaisons. And during those meetings at her mother's grave, persuaded Mary that she should run away with him and get married. They did so. And 3 years later, now Mary Shelley became the author of Frankenstein at only 19. But there's more. And here, we have the tomb of one of the greatest architects of the 1700s, arguably, Sir John Soane. He built the Bank of England, which stood until 1925, until it was demolished in what's been described as one of the greatest architectural crimes of the century. His neoclassical design inspired Giles Gilbert Scott to build something very famous. You see that central pillar just there? That was what was used to help design... Oh, hold on. I'm in the middle of something. Scott used his tomb to honour him with the design for his new telephone box. By the middle of the 19th century, 100,000 dead were buried here. No surprise then that Dickens made this place the centre for his grave robbers in A Tale of Two Cities to resurrect cadavers. But disinterment was going to get a whole lot worse. You see, in 1863, the Midland Rail Company ran the new line from St Pancras straight through this graveyard. Tales of broken bodies and desecrated graves enraged the local public, and it was decided that somebody must be employed to ensure the respectful disinterment of the bodies here. The man to undertake that task was Thomas Hardy. He wouldn't publish his first novel for another 8 years. They worked at night by burning light and behind a screen to keep the removal of bodies from public view. But they found some very, very strange things. They dropped one coffin, and when it burst open, they found a skeleton, but 2 skulls. And in another opened coffin, they found 3 bodies and the skeleton of a Pacific walrus. Don't ask. I have absolutely no idea why. In any case, Thomas Hardy became increasingly concerned with the damaged and abandoned gravestones that were littering this site. So he decided to gather as many together as possible and have them placed around this ash tree. That's why this tree is called the Hardy tree. Here we can see a surviving tombstone from the railways that was broken and was rested here probably only because it is the grave of Captain John Mills and says he was the last survivor of the Black Hole of Calcutta. Oh, you don't know what that is? Oh, well, if you go to our podcast at Audio Boom and iTunes, I'll tell you all about it right there. There are far too many famous people who were disinterred here to list, but this monument tries to do just that. It was organised by Angela Burdett Coutts, heir to the Coutts banking business, making her the wealthiest woman in Britain by some distance and banker to the royal family and Queen Victoria herself. The people listed on here are wildly exotic. We've got Pasquale Paolo, the famous Corsican independence leader, John Flaxman, the greatest sculptor of the age, and we've also got the architect Giacomo Leone. Who built this place? Moore Park! Another person commemorated on this monument is the most famous transgender man of the age, a chap called Chevalier de Aon, who for 30 years went around his daily business dressed completely as a lady. What people didn't realise is that he was also the greatest spy of the age too. But perhaps the most famous people that you know who are commemorated with anything to do with St Pancras are the Beatles, who in 1968 had their photograph taken all around London, including here on their mad day out. All right, fellas, I've just got to go for a drink and tell them about some other stuff, okay? But let's not forget why we're here, to prove that this place is the oldest Christian site in Britain. Let's go. Oh, come on. That's Johann Sebastian, his father. St Pancras was a real person. He converted to Christianity and was put to death by the Emperor Diocletian for refusing to renounce their faith, under interrogation from the emperor personally. It may surprise you to know that St Pancras was only 14 years old. Understandable then that St Pancras is the patron saint of perjury and of children. Also the patron saint of headaches, but given that St Pancras was beheaded as a punishment, that seems a little harsh. But St Pancras isn't English and was never here. St Pancras was executed in 304 AD, a Roman citizen living in Turkey. It's that, however, which gives us a clue as to why this place may well be the oldest Christian site in England. You see, for a Roman saint to be used as the name of this place means that the Romans must have brought that concept with them. And we know that the Romans were here, a little hill next to the River Fleet. It was a Roman camp. And we can see here in the exposed brickwork, Roman tiles that have been reused. So the Romans were definitely here, and we have a Roman named saint. The only question is, when did this happen? Well, come here. You see, I want to show you a stone that they found underneath the foundations of the bell tower. They believe that this stone dates back as far as the early 5th century, the 400s. They laid it right here into the altar. Unmistakably, you can make out some Romano-British cruciform shapes that have a striking resemblance to the cruciform shapes being produced in the early 4th century, like this. You see, that proves that there was Christian worship here since the early 300s. No, the wrong Bach. That's Johann Sebastian, his father. I keep telling you. I need a pint and you need a summary. Come on. So, St Pancras, you remember, was beheaded in 304 AD. In 306 AD, Constantine is proclaimed emperor of all Rome by his army in York. And then, by 312 AD, he converts to Christianity, making the Roman Empire Christian at the same time. And legend has it that by 314, St Pancras is fully operational as a Christian church, therefore making it the oldest Christian site in Britain. St Pancras Old Church really is a true wonder. It's clearly been here for a very long time. On the walls inside there are lots of memorials to some very famous people. There's Elizabeth I's chef. There's also Samuel Cooper, the greatest miniaturist painter of the 17th century. But by the time we get to the 18th century, this church becomes too small for the number of people who want to worship here, and it's surrounded by the expanding slums of growing London. So they decided to build a new St Pancras church. Ah. Now that's Christian Bach. Isn't this place wonderful?
Excuse me, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just filming for... It's all right.